please help me welcome Carlin Wong, who is the #2 right-hand man of Outstand, really. And I know Andy Horner counts on you tremendously, and the whole Wealthwave team counts on you tremendously. So we're all indebted to you, and looking forward to hearing your message today.
Oh, thank you very much, Todd. And Angelo, thank you for having me. It's definitely a pleasure to speak with you guys. And, all of you guys have been a real inspiration, it's not easy to change how you do business, especially it's been working and how you've been interacting with people. And I know when something new comes up, every leader, especially I know this was something that Angelo looked into very early on, was you don't want the next shiny thing to be the thing that you focus on. It's like, oh, well, look at the newest iPhone. I need to buy that type of a thing, because it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to help your business. And so we're very fortunate to have leaders like Angelo be able to give us insight into how his team would utilize the different resources and things like that. And so appreciate you guys being on this webinar. First off, I want to give you all the resources because I know we're going to go over some things today, but repetition is ultimately what is going to help you get up to speed. There really is so much stuff that we have available that you won't be in one hour webinar an expert in. So for those of you that are calling yourselves, I'm not tech savvy, which I'm sure there's a number of you guys like that. I want you to probably consider not saying that again. Make a commitment to not say you're not tech savvy, because I can probably prove to you that that is ultimately not true. All I have to ask is, what kind of phone do you have? If you have a smartphone, if you have an Android or an iPhone, the statement that you are not tech savvy is absolutely not true, because smartphones did not exist in the way that we use them today, even just 5 years ago, maybe 10. And you had to relearn how to use this phone. And if I'm right about that, you know that you had to learn certain things. If you do more than one thing on your phone, what I mean is more than just calling, you had to learn a new skill that never existed before. So by saying you're not tech savvy, most people say that because they want to absolve themselves of responsibility of learning a new tool. I think the reason is why some, a lot of people say that is not because they don't like the tools, it's because they don't know the reason why they need to learn it. And so what I want you to do is just stop telling yourself you're not tech savvy and start telling yourself, this is something I need to learn, and I'm not going to use the excuse I'm not tech savvy, and I'm just going to learn how this works, just like I learned my different functions on my smartphone. Okay, so that's my first word of encouragement. You are or can be tech savvy. You can. And I've proven that. So wealthwave.com, the only site that you need to go to, is the only site you need to bookmark, is the only site you need to remember, wealthwave.com. The reason is because there's so much here in terms of connecting. You can see Wealthwave TV, you can see the podcast, you have Facebook, LinkedIn, contact page there. We also have the store. So if you're looking to buy any Wealthwave apparel, we have a very, very fully stocked store, and we're adding some more things onto there. Let me show you a little bit. All the brands, Wealthwave, How Money Works, $1 Million Baby, E2E. So I was talking with Todd about that. If you're holding an event, it just looks cooler if you're wearing the actual thing that you are presenting. So let's say E2E or something like that. So you can find all that under store, and then also to buy the books, to be a part of the book club. If you go on Amazon right now, you'll see it's something like $16.99. I think Amazon's selling it for, but you have the ability to buy this book for $2.50 plus shipping per book, which is basically like giving it away. And this book, to be honest, as we go into it, I'm going to confess to you that I didn't actually read this book until the last 2 months. Like, I actually went from cover to cover. I finally went through the entire book. And even though I've been training on different websites and things like that, we've just been so busy, I didn't actually sit down to read it. And finally I did. And I realized, wow, this is amazing. This is amazing. So if you've only bought books and you haven't read it, if you were like me, maybe most of you guys are not like that, I'd recommend sit down, read it. If you've read it before, read it again. This is where you can order it. Our next events are updated there. And also the team site. This is a very important site after our webinar, because the webinars that I do every single week on Wednesday is put onto this site here. So if you, the team, it's going to ask you for a password. And so the password is disruption, all lowercase, DISRUPTION, disruption. And once you get into the team site, you'll see this place called videos, and that's where you're going to find the recording. So when you click videos, there's one more, and that's the Wealthwave 360 training. We're about to revamp this page and make it a bit clearer, but when you click it, it'll bring you to the Wealthwave 360 training. And yesterday I did an overview of the triple threat recap. And what's really interesting about it, let me just click into it here. I shared some pretty amazing stuff. I'm going to keep doing it. I first showed the evolution of the iPhone and how it went from this phone that was a neat idea, but it was very slow, and the internet was slow. And now we come up to the iPhone X, or X. Actually, we're even beyond that. iPhone 11 Pro. I think I showed it. Yeah, 11 Pro Max. And then I showed in 2015. You have Tom Matthews talking about how he wants to present with something called Wealthwave TV. This is in 2015, 5 years ago. And he announces that in a few months, we're going to be launching Wealthwave TV. Lo and behold, on Saturday, we had our highest stream event. You can see the numbers right here. This is our live stream account. 7,829 total views live on that date. 6,249 live stream and 1,580 from individual Facebook accounts there, okay? So these are unique views. Think about that, 7,800, and that began with Tom announcing this 5 years ago. And then in 2016 at the convention called Dream On, he talks about launching Wealthwave 360, and the reason for launching it, so he says that by 2020, close to 70% of all humans will own a smartphone. And we're in 2020 now. And then he says, well, that's why we built Wealthwave 360, to be high touch, high tech, high volume, to bring disruption to our industry and financial literacy to the world. This was 4 years ago. And the reason why I show you this is not to talk about how a visionary Tom is, because he is that. But what it struck me was how interesting that it is at this time where we can't be anywhere, we're locked in our homes, that we realized we needed a tool like this more than ever. We knew we needed to go digital, but we know we need it now. But the problem is, if we did not start working on this 5 years ago, we would not have had the triple threat event on Saturday. I can guarantee you that. Because the websites that we had when we first started had one video on there, and that's it. And then it evolved in the last 4 or 5 years, and you guys are a part of that as well, seeing that evolution and the things that, if you watch a triple threat event and you had a website prior to Saturday, you know what it looked like. I mean, it was nice. It had different videos at the front and had all this stuff, but it's sort of like when the newest iPhone comes out, you forget about all the old stuff. You go, I would never go back to that anymore. And so that's what I'd like to talk to you guys about. Let me make sure I can go back here. So this is back to the wealthwave.com. That's where you can find the recording of yesterday's triple threat recap webinar there. And then under Wealthwave 360, you can either create an account, and we now have every single one of your associates who signs on a new account gets a 30-day free trial now. Imagine having all those tools for 30 days for free. That's what we have now. We never had that before. And what they have to do is just click create an account and then set up with a basic account. And if they decide not to keep it, on the 30th day they cancel, there is no cost to that as well. All right, so it's open to every single person now. There really is no excuse. And one major difference between the Wealthwave platform and the WFG platform is the WFG side requires licensing. The Wealthwave side does not. So you could have a non-licensed associate have E2E, have How Money Works, have the Wealthwave websites on day one after they sign their AMA. So it's a huge, huge difference. They can also get an email account with us, even though they haven't started paying for it, okay? So at wealthwave.com. Now, know that if they cancel their Wealthwave 360 account, then the email goes as well because there's costs associated, but they can have it for those 30 days. And then also the Essentials webinar, this is where you sign up for my webinar. All right, so that is wealthwave.com, and I just want to make sure everybody has access to that and remembers that. So one website and one website only, wealthwave.com, and you can find everything right at the top there. All right, now first thing I want to go over is all three websites, okay? So we'll kind of go over each step there, but the first one is the Wealthwave website, and the newest and latest and greatest tool that we ever launched was the presentation tool. This was an idea that came up in Andy's brain 4 weeks ago, and then our dev team made it a reality to put presentations full screen on your website. It's probably about an 80% perfect product. It is not perfect, but it's pretty close to it in everything that you want from it. And I'm sure as I go through this, and some of you have tried it already, you're probably thinking, oh, well, could it have this? Could I do this? Could I do this? Could you add this feature to it? Feel the same way. When I was starting to use that, that's how I started to think. But because development is going to take some resources, I want you to think about this. All the resources I'm going to share with you today, use them as they are now and go as far as you can with it. Don't ever wait for a perfect tool before you go and tell someone about the business or help them with learning about how money works, because you'll never find a perfect tool. Just go ahead using that as an excuse and just go out and start telling people about this, using the tools as is. Now, when I press the presentation tool, there's two different presentations. The Wealth Crisis, which I'll click this one to launch, is 32 slides. Okay, it's a shortened version of the Perfect Wave. The Perfect Wave is 65 slides. So basically half of that. So if you're looking to do a presentation a lot shorter, I'd say go do the Wealth Crisis. This is probably all you need. Okay, it's 32 slides. You should be able to maybe show 10 slides there of your favorite, and then skip the other ones. You don't have to show every single slide. It should be about 10 to 15 minutes in your presentation. The Perfect Wave, though, I'm going to use this one. And one feature of the presentation tool I think is very powerful is the thumbnail view. So when I click the thumbnail view, it zooms out for a moment. And keep in mind, I would be doing it exactly the way I'm doing it now. So if I was showing this to somebody, I would be share screening and going full screen with this so that when I click, you're watching me do this. So this is, I'm not even simulating this. This is actually how you would do it. You use Zoom or use GoToMeeting or whatever you're using. And the first tip I can give you is use either the on-screen arrows to advance the slides or use your keyboard. I think the keyboard might be better. Don't use your trackpad though. Don't swipe with 2 fingers because it doesn't work that well when you do it that way. But if you use your keyboard, it's very reliable. So you can see I can start the first slide, talk to you about the Perfect Way. I'm going to share with you what our company is doing, a force for disruption, and then I'm going to skip to the 4th slide. So there's 2 major focuses there. Toto was mentioning about how E2E is a great way to start the conversation around entrepreneurism and starting to be becoming an associate with the team. So these are the 2 major ways that we're using to drive people. You remember some steps involve like prospecting, approaching contact, presentation, right? Those couple steps there. We called the 6 steps. Right, and then there were 8 speed filters. That's how we used to talk about it. But the question was, step number 1 was always prospecting. Right? If you don't have any prospects, then you have nothing to do. So the problem was, what do you do before prospecting? Well, we used to have to do things like friendship farming and you're getting referrals and that kind of thing. And that's a great way to do it, but there has to be more. What more way could you do it? Well, you need to turn strangers into friends, and you can do that either using the How Money Works program or the E2E program now. So the How Money Works program is you can ask people, do you know how money works? They go, well, I don't know what that means. Well, it's, do you think you're financially literate? And they might say, I don't think so. Well, why don't we see? We used to just have the quiz where someone could do the 5-question quiz. And if they could answer 3 or more correct, they were deemed financially literate. It was a great way to strike up a conversation. Now we have a book. We have a How Money Works book. And I'm going to show you that there's also a free ebook that people can download now on your How Money Works website. But those are great ways to start the conversation. I remember one time asking a friend of mine, a close friend of mine, and I fell into the scenario of disaster really quickly. I asked them, have you ever thought about a career in financial services? Like, I just directly just went there. And she said no, because she was a nurse. She didn't think about that. And I didn't know what to say after that. I was like, okay, well, she said no, and that's it. You see, if I don't know where she's leaning, it's not a very good question to ask, right? It's sort of like phoning everybody in the white pages and asking, do you need an Uber ride, right? You need to find the people who are looking for you right now at that moment. So instead, I could ask her, hey, do you know how money works? And I could have talked about that with her. I could have sent her a book. I could have sent her the quiz to take a look, sent her to my website, at least to start the conversation there. What's the result of a How Money Works prospect? Most likely, if you were to ask me to guess, I'd say maybe 8 out of 10 would be, that's what, 4 out of 5 would be looking at becoming clients. Okay, so interest level would become clients. However, I would not write off somebody who looks at it and says, this is a really neat thing. How do you become part of it? So I wouldn't write them off just because I'm talking about How Money Works, because on our pages, we do talk about becoming a How Money Works educator, right? And so maybe 1 out of 5 people are going to become educators. So How Money works both ways. And that's why we love that program, because you don't have to choose one or the other. Secondly, though, the E2E one is explicitly recruiting, explicitly. And it's meant for that purpose. The E2E program is talking to people who are looking to make the move. That's our key phrase there, make the move from employee to entrepreneur. Someone who's interested in becoming their own boss in some sense. Now, it may not be that they're looking to quit their job tomorrow, have some sort of really interesting quitting story with their boss, and then jump into the business full time. That's not necessarily what's going to happen. Most people are going to start part-time. They need to get licensed. They need to get experience. They need to start building a team, all those things. But that still qualifies as entrepreneurism. Right? That's why we have so many Uber drivers and Lyft drivers and Airbnb owners, all that stuff. So E2E is meant to identify the people who are looking to make the move. Now, where are they going to move to? Not necessarily Wealthwave, actually. The program is not designed to give them only one path. And the reason for that is, I'm going to step back a second and explain to you our psychology around these things. We believe that the age of convincing people is over. And what I mean by that is going in with a perfect presentation, the perfect video, and someone who used to be negative about a certain thing or not interested in something suddenly now becomes interested. We realize that we're in an age where people can Google whatever they want. They can find out whatever they want. And so convincing people, even if you tell somebody some statistics, the more knowledgeable people are going to Google it and see if what you're saying is true. They don't need 100 pages of proof. They just need maybe one link that says, okay, well, that particular thing is true that person is saying. So what we realize is why don't we instead give you tools as a business owner to identify who is interested, not to convert people, not to bring them to some sort of event and suddenly, like remember your brother-in-law who's like got his arms folded and said this is a scam or something like that. And then, is never going to be interested and say, oh my goodness, if I just send him a book, he's going to be like converted. And then you send him a book and he doesn't read it and he's not converted. And you go like, what happened? Is the tool wrong? No, it's not wrong. It's just not the right timing for him. What you need to do is not wait on your brother-in-law. What you need to do is find the people who are interested to do it right here, right now. But how do you do that? If you spend all your resources to try to convince your brother-in-law, you're going to go out of business before you're ever even in business. So The E2E program is meant to drive people together that are talking about entrepreneurism. And I'll talk about that a little bit later, and how to run an E2E event. Would love to see what you guys come up with, because I'm sure there are a couple business owners here on the call as well, where you're in another industry as well. You're exactly what this program is built for. So those are the two things that ultimately drive people to Wealthwave. Now, when you get to Wealthwave, though, by the way, this is explicitly, you need to join us. So when you get to Wealthwave, we are explicitly, you need to join us. But you can see that it's sort of we led you there. We led you there in that we based it on what you were interested in. I'm going to give you an analogy. When you go to apple.com, as you can see, we're kind of big Apple fans. Nothing wrong with Android, by the way. If you guys are Android, we're looking after you guys too. The next app we're going to come up with will be both Android and iPhone. An actual app that you can check your things. That most likely is going to be coming third or fourth quarter next year. So I'm sorry, it's not going to be faster, but I'm just saying, Android, we love you too. No, you guys are using that too. So, but if you go to the Apple page here, you'll notice that everything's sort of a 50,000 foot view. Here's the iPhone SE. That's the newest thing that came out, iPhone 11. And then if I want to see Apple TV, Apple Watch, let's say I was looking for iPad. I click iPad, and I see some beautiful photos. I see the iPad Air. I see the iPad. You know, I don't have much information about it. You can see it, incredible power at an incredible value. Let's say I was looking for the iPad Air, and then I click Learn More. Then you start seeing more specifics around the iPad Air. And then when I click Tech Specs, I get the exact specifications all the way to what kind of processor, the A12, is being used there. So how the Apple website and any modern website does it is that they show 50,000, then they go a 1,000 foot view, and then they go to 100 foot, and then 5 feet. Like they go down, 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 down. You don't show everything at once. You only show what the person is interested in. That's how we've designed this particular page, where it's all just really just overview of things. You see our platform, our media, our impact. If someone's interested in the platform, they click that, it's going to bring them to the platform. We have the New Era video there. By the way, all the videos will have English subtitles, and then eventually Spanish as well. Most of them do have Spanish, by the way, and we're still working on a few outliers like this one here. Platform of highs and lows, and then as you scroll down, you see the difference between the traditional agency and Wealthwave's model. You can click through that. You can look at the 4 ways to earn income: personal income, team income, expansion income, bonus income. All this is you're familiar with. The biggest battlefield. So you can see we're drilling down deep as the person is clicking more. So that's really how the whole website is built. Now, I want to give you one more analogy to help you understand how to utilize these pages. So I'm going to go over the how many works in the E2E in just a moment. We've decided to make Wealthwave 360 more like a pantry, okay? And what I mean by a pantry is, if you've ever watched this show called Master Chef, it's like one of my favorite all-time shows here with my wife. Let me bring it up here and show you what I mean. They have the most spectacular pantry in the world, at least on TV, that is. So Master Chef Pantry. And you'll see that when these chefs are ready to go make their dish, they go into the pantry. So here's the Master Chef pantry here, and they run in, and then it's like they go in and look at that. Look at all the stuff they can choose from. They got those like expensive mushrooms and stuff, and then this person's talking in front of the camera, and you're going to see that. I think that's like what, kidney or stomach or something like that. So anything you want, you can go grab it, and then you bring it back to your kitchen, and then you cook the dish that you intend to cook. That's how we've decided to make Wealthwave 360. Every team runs their business slightly differently, and you should have the right to run your business how you want. You're the business owner. You're not an employee. You're a business owner. So what we've done is we've created a presentation with, what was that, 68 slides, right? Something like that. Why does anybody need to show 68 slides? Well, you don't. But it's much easier to give you 68 slides and then you choose which one than to have a slide that's only 10 and then you ask for something that we have to make. So instead, we've stocked the pantry with a homepage that's beautiful, with a vision and mission page, with a platform page, with videos, with an about page, with blogs that we continue to update every single week, 2 times a week. All that, and then you choose what you want to show. Okay, so that's the way you need to look at it. We didn't create all these tools to tell you, make sure you go through every single page and every single thing in there. Only talk about what you need to talk about. Only use what you need to use. Okay, that's the way to do it, rather than making it minimalistic and then we don't have everything you need. That's why we launched so much stuff on Saturday, because we want to give you everything. So that's the Wealthwave website there, and it's meant to especially talk to people who are looking to join Wealthwave. So by the time you've shown them How Money Works, and then they ask you, how do I become a How Money Works educator? You're now finally at Wealthwave, and you go, well, how does it work? How do I make money? Like what exactly does that entail? Well, that's where you might go to the platform and model. And you start explaining, we're all independent, but we work together as business owners. There's 4 ways to earn income: personal income, team income, expansion income, and bonus income. We can go into more specifics there, different contract levels. Of course, whatever you guys need to do, that's really where Wealthwave comes in, and the different presentations that are needed there. So that's Wealthwave. And you can see there's links to How Money Works and E2E. And on How Money Works, though,